Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spin Cycle Podcast. It's the podcast talking to the personalities, the groups, and the brands that make London and the UK an incredible place to be a cyclist. Today, we've got a special guest. I'm sure that people will know. Welcome to the podcast, Red Walters. Red, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's good to be on.
All right.
Long-time listeners will know that we break podcasts into three component parts. First part is who are you and how did you get into cycling? Second part is what we talked to Red about his racing career, actually. Came to racing on a slightly later stage than is the traditional route. And I know a lot of people on this podcast are seemingly trying to get into racing, so it'd be really great to get some pointers, advice, and some experience learned along the way. And the third part we're going to do is the Q&A, and there may be a few surprises along the way in the Q&A because we might have the first person that actually likes white bib shorts, like myself and NJ allegedly. So, Reb, why don't you tell us kind of who you are and maybe how you get into cycling?
Yeah, so I'm Red Walters. I am a pro cyclist racing for a Canadian team called Speed United, and we currently race essentially just in Europe, more or less. I started cycling when I was 17, so first year junior. It was I sort of wanted to get into a sport, and I didn't have much direction other than gaming. So I wanted to get into a sport. Cycling looked pretty good. I already rode to school every day. So I made a deal with my dad. If I got, a certain number of A's in my GCSEs, then he'd buy me a bike. So got that, bought the bike, raced a week later, got shelled, lapped like 5 times, and that was the start of the addiction. So here I am 8 years later. And yeah, it was just from there, just a gradual progression of, just racing on the weekends, doing the club run, getting dropped every week on the club run for nearly a year. And just slowly progressing, start racing categories, rank up, get better, bit better. It really is just like such a long, gradual process for me, I think.
So at that point, did you kind of have any structure to how you were cycling? Or was it just miles in the legs, race at the weekend, club run on the Friday, progress, see what happens kind of thing?
Yeah, so for the first probably year and a half to 2 years, there was no structure at all. It was literally just like you say, do the club run, maybe do some like in brackets training rides in the week, and a training ride would literally be at the beginning. It was like, I'd be playing like games with my friends. All right, guys, I'm just gonna go and do some training, and it would literally be like a 15-minute ride around the block. The classic, com hunting, just smashing, that kind of thing. And then I got a coach coming into my second year as a junior, or like halfway into the year, which was, eye-opening in terms of like, okay, let's do this. And then you realize, you can actually really start progressing when you've got a plan. So that was really good. And, I've had 2 more coaches since then. And it really is just like progressing every aspect bit by bit.
What was the, I guess, main difference that you found from getting a coach? What kind of, I guess, structure did he put you on that you were like, oh, I can see the benefits really quickly?
I think, well, I remember actually the first main thing was the concept of doing 2 hard rides in a row, like back-to-back days. I remember I do like the Saturday chain gang ride, and then he put the club run the next day, and I was like, whoa, 4 hours, 2 days in a row. That's a bit crazy. And obviously initially that, wiped me out. But after a while you get used to it, you adapt quicker, and it really is just like having the coach to push you, and you've got this in the plan. It's like, okay, I'm doing this. And if I'm feeling a bit bad, where, maybe normally you'd be like, oh, I'm not feeling great today, but you've got the plan, you've got the coach, the accountability. So this gives you something to aim for, which I think is just a lot better than free floating. At least some people can really make it work, but for me, I don't think I could get very far just, eyeballing it.
What sort of, maybe we'll digress very quickly into this. What sort of numbers were you pushing when you were about 17, 18? Desperate to know that, actually.
So
without revealing too much about where you are now, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's all right. The first FTP test I did, I remember this was before I got a coach, so this must have been less, maybe even just a couple months into cycling. In fact, it was a couple months into cycling. So I guess you could say untrained, more or less. I think it was I can't remember if it was either 270 for 20 minutes or 270 calculated threshold from a 20 minutes. But it's something like that at, like 66 kilos or something like that. So it wasn't too bad, but it was still pretty far off the pace for most racing and a lot of group rides. And that's the thing, that was like the FDP part. If you look at the endurance part, there was just zero endurance, and that's where I really suffered at the start.
How long did it take you to build up your, I guess, endurance throughout your, I guess, youth?
I guess up to now, it's a constant level of like, damn. Last year I was actually pretty bad actually, but now I'm actually good. And then the next year, damn, last year I was pretty bad, but now I'm actually good. So it honestly, literally, when I don't exaggerate when I say the first nearly year of club runs, you get 40 miles. Oh yeah, Red's suffering at the back again. And it was just like a struggle every single week to get home. And like part of that was fueling. A lot of that was fueling, which I'm now finally in a place where I'm like pretty good at and consistent with. But that was also a big aspect that, oh gosh, sometimes I think, man, if I was good at that back in the first couple of years, it would have made a huge difference.
Where did you grow up? What club were you assigned? Were you with originally?
I started with Satonia CC, so that's Southampton's main club. They were really cool, and I always say like I have a huge amount of gratitude to them, because you start the sport and it's a bunch of guys you've never met before, you don't really know, and I guess your enjoyment of the sport very much hinges on how enjoyable a place they can make it, and it really was just like super fun, so casual on the weekends, that little bit of competitiveness on the climbs, but still social. It was I think the perfect mixture of good vibes.
Was there like a family member or a friend who properly got you into cycling when you were like, I want to get these like A grades at GCSE and get this bike, or was it all on you feeling like seeing stuff and getting inspired?
It's really weird. I still can't pinpoint exactly what inspired me in cycling specifically. It was like I was doing my GCSEs. I literally, like, gaming was pretty much all I did, and I don't regret it, but it was pretty single-minded. And I was like, yeah, I really want to do something, channel my competitiveness into another place. And weirdly, the dichotomy was cycling or remote control car racing. I've always loved racing in general. And yeah, it's such a weird set of two things. I ended up picking cycling for whatever reason. Yeah, I honestly can't think of any sort of inspiration. It wasn't like, didn't really watch the Olympics or the Olympic cycling specifically much. Yeah, it just sort of felt like it. Yeah.
I found that really fascinating. Of just like, usually it's like a family member or someone like their friends that like getting into cycling, but you're just like remote control cars or cycling. And do you have any? Did you? Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to ask you questions about the remote control car stuff. Was there like a scene down there in like Hampshire for it?
No,
No.
as far as I can tell, there's not really much of a scene anywhere. It's like such a tiny niche that there are circuits, but it's just like, if cycling is a bit niche compared to the general public, this is like properly down there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't get into a hobby that's that small and niche.
Because you can get those petrol ones as well.
Yeah, the nitro. I remember I was looking, because I was the kind of kid, I still am, but like, I'll do all the research before I buy something or get into something, and I'll figure out like what's the best one, like super savvy. And I did the same with bikes at roughly the same time. And I ended up going with cycling, which I'm definitely not regretting at all.
What bike did you get for your GCSE result in the end?
Yeah, so this was a classic one of like, with dad like on the sofa, oh yeah, this one looks good, like gauging how much of value of a bike I can sort of ask for, like, oh, this one just a little bit more, and then you get a carbon frame, oh, just a little bit more, and you get this. And it's one of those ones, I asked for advice from this club that I'd sort of not quite joined. I did like a couple of rides on my hybrid, and asked for advice for them, and I ignored the advice, which is now the advice that I would also give, which is like, get something that works, that's good condition, that's just like just going to be reliable. But not me. I was like, no, carbon frame. That is the number one focus. I don't care about anything else. I want a carbon frame. So I got this. It was a Ribble Gran Fondo, which, to be fair, it looked really, really nice, especially at that time. And it wasn't a bad bike. It was just, very, as I grew up and got stronger, I realized it was not very stiff at all. But it was a great bike, fairly comfortable. But I just remember so clearly. So it's a 58, and for reference, I ride a 54 now. I haven't really grown in that amount of time, so it was a big frame for me. And like the first time I got it, I was like, this is really low. This is like, I feel like my back's going to get some problems, because compared to the hybrid, it was just like a big step down. I was like, I'm not sure if I like this. I think I might have to return it or something. But no, I got used to it eventually.
I once bought when I first started working, didn't have very much money, but I went into Evans Cycles on East Cheap in the city, and there was a specialised alley, I think with Sora. I ride a 54, but probably similar sort of size as you, and that was a 58 size specialised. I remember I had to get the seat pretty much on top of where the cap was, and I slammed the stem down because otherwise there was no way for me to augment myself onto the bike properly.
Yeah.
What other bikes have you had, I guess, Brad? We'll go through a little bike history.
Oh gosh, it's actually, I can't even complain, because the last 3 or 4 years have been a bit of a dream in terms of getting like top end bikes from teams and stuff. So it was the Ribble Gran Fondo, then I bought a giant TCR, which I reckon like 50% of cyclists have at some point had a TCR. It's just like the bike that just comes through
reliable.
at some point.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. After the TCR was perhaps my favorite bike ever. So I wanted a race bike, didn't have much money, so I did the thing that everyone looks at some point, and I looked at the Chinese carbon. So long story short, I bought an open mold frame, all black, and we painted it down, and we designed my own brand, like we called it Element R. And we bought the paint, painted it up in the garage with my dad. And I still to this day say it looked awesome, and it was a pretty sick bike. So yeah, rode that for a year. Then I was on the Vitus team, so I had a Vitus. Nice. Year after that, I was on a Specialized Venge, which I still have, which I need to sell. After that, gosh, what was after the Venge? Then I was back on the same TCR as before, which I painted silver and put Supreme stickers on. Then I had the Checamonda, which is behind me. Then I had, oh god, there's been a few. I'm on the Factors now. I had a Pinarello F10 from Hagens Berman at one point.
Nice.
I think that's it. Yeah, I've been blessed with some, like, all the brands, or a lot of the brands' top end bikes. Oh, and the Scott foil from last year. How could I forget?
Do you have a favorite bike that you rode out of all of them, or are they?
Factor.
I mean, obviously, my current favorite is the Factor.
Very good, very good.
Although to be genuine and honest, I am actually a big fan of it. I do say, like, there's not a huge amount of difference. The differences are like pretty nuanced, and I think definitely preference based. But I am genuinely a fan of the Factor, especially the handlebars. The bar stem on them is like super stiff, which I've missed on previous bikes.
Yeah. I know that, I guess when I was at BCN, and so were you used to do quite a lot of hill climbs, and now you're quite the sprinter. Did you think that you were going to be a climber before you became like a true professional, or was that just something you just did for fun?
No, to be fair, I was always a sprinter. Maybe at the very start you could describe me as a puncher, just because I didn't have the mass yet. I was still had the junior weight. But the hill climbs, I think that was the COVID year, where it was like the hill climbs came back sort of first. So me and my coach, we just sort of made me into the hill climb build, and the training was just like 1 and 2 minute efforts, close to max, like every ride. And it was just, my anaerobic tank was just like probably maybe higher than it is now. So that was sort of a fun thing. But no, definitely a sprinter overall. But these days, I think in the sort of pro races, I would say the concept of a sprinter is a bit of a myth. Like a sprinter is what I always thought, and what most people think is like, sprint, and then doesn't really matter. You've got the team to get you over to get you to the end of the race. But a lot of these races, it's like to get to that sprint, sometimes only 40 guys make it, and they still call it a sprint. And it's just really, really hard. There's lots of climbing. So it is like all-rounder plus having the sprint tagged on the end.
Well, with that in mind, maybe we head to a break and hear about Red's racing career. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Red, I think it would be nice for us to go through your race career. I don't know how you want to start this off, but should we start with, I guess, Vitus, as you joined them quite early on, and then you sort of went back into, I guess more of a domestic scene, and then you went back into like a UCI continental level.
Yeah. So it's funny. I can't believe I've been running for 8 years now. I looked at I've got my little folder on my computer with like all the footage from all the races, and it's like 2016, 2017, and now there's like 8 folders, and it's like it is funny how quickly it adds up. But yeah, so first year getting onto a proper team, I'd spent like a few years with my club, and I was like, yeah, I need a team. I really want to get onto a continental team, which is the UCI level. That's like the bottom level of the UCI, which is, I guess, to briefly describe it, like the more officially registered teams. So literally I emailed every team in the UK, I think, and like I couldn't find the email address for Vitus, and I was like, oh damn, oh well, like I'm probably not going to get onto these teams anyway, but at least I tried. And then one day I was just like scouring the UCI website, and I realized they had all the email addresses. So I was like, oh, okay, well, here's the last one. Let's just chuck that out. Same copy paste, change the names. No shame there.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, after I'd accepted defeat, I got a reply like, oh, hey, Red, we've seen your videos, really like them. Do you want to come up to the service course for a chat? And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's a 3-hour drive, but hey, let's go off for a chat. And they basically offered me a contract. Like, showed me around, was all sounding very positive, and then just offered me a contract the same day. And I was like, oh, okay, yes,
amazing,
yes, please. Wow. Yeah, so that was really cool. And being on the same team as riders like Ed Clancy, and like big name riders in the UK, it was like, okay, this is a proper step up. In retrospect, physically I wasn't quite ready. I was like a proper bottom of the team. Didn't really get any race days. So it was like, it started off really like cool, but it was also very frustrating. I don't regret it, but it wasn't the development that I needed at the time. So then the year after that, I dropped down to what at the time was called no pins Simek, I think at the time, which that was the COVID year as well. So but it was so frustrating. So I had me and about 5 of my mates who were literally my mates before joining the team. It's like we all got onto the same team. So as you can imagine, that's pretty cool. We did a couple races. It was like one of the most fun experiences, racing with your good mates. And then obviously COVID happened. And then the next year it was all going our separate ways, really. And that is the sort of the UK scene in a nutshell. Is we call it trying to escape the matrix by getting to race in Europe. It's like it's almost impossible to get anywhere in cycling just racing in the UK. You have to race in Europe to get seen, etc. So I managed to get a spot racing in France for a club team, that was pretty cool. Did fairly well there at that level, and then
some great YouTube videos there as well.
Yeah, I did a good few with the video overlays. That was quite a fun one.
Yeah.
But no, really, honestly, racing in France was again one of the most fun things. Like the crowds are crazy, the racing's aggressive. It's really good. And then that same year I ended up getting a stagiaire contract, which is like a guest ride kind of thing towards the end of the season with Hagen Sperman. Thanks to Theo Gegenhardt, who was doing like an initiative for black riders to get opportunities at that level. So that was really cool. Did a couple races with them, but I couldn't stay for the next year because it was my last year under 23, and it's an under 23 team. So where normally after a stagiaire you would stay with the team for next year, that was like a sort of predetermined conclusion to that one. Then the year after that was Ribble. So that was 2022 after that. Ribble World Tight. So that was a Conti team in the UK. that was pretty good. But again, didn't have a huge amount of opportunities in Europe. So it wasn't the development that I needed. But that was also a case of, again, I was like not really in that top part of the team that was getting selections because I just wasn't good enough at the time. And then that brings us to last year, 2023. Made a few changes, two major changes, which I think were really big going into last year. Was I changed coach for a fresh start. I think sometimes it's good to just mix things up, just try something new. And then also my diet was something I was like, okay, we're paying attention to this properly. We're going to just track everything, do everything as well as I possibly can. And that made a huge improvement to consistency and other things. So yeah, last year, I guess you could say, was a bit of a breakout year. I had a full year of UCI races, which is obviously a much bigger step up from just racing in the UK. I got my first European UCI points. I got points from racing Grenada national champs before, but European UCI points, which was a pretty big deal for me in the Tour of Bulgaria. I got a second and then a stage win, which was like crazy, best racing experience. Yeah. And then just towards the end of the season, I just kept going from, I guess, strength to strength. I was getting, I guess, race result PBs, racing against like World Tour races. Like race in Sagan's last race ever, actually.
Oh, that's
cool.
I was pretty cool. I was 25th in that. So I was disappointed I didn't get to sprint against Sagan, but also a top 25 in that race as UCI points. So that's also pretty cool as well. And then I ended up, so I've just got the results in front of me so I don't forget. And then we went to Hong Kong, which is just another crazy experience. Race over there, racing against Jaco Lula. So all in all, a really, really cool year, like loads of new experiences. And I always forget like the experience side of it. It's like, we went all these places and raced, but also it's easy to forget that we went to all these places across Europe with my teammates and just like had loads of fun as well. So it's been a really cool year, and we're hopefully doing the same this year as well.
That's pretty cool. Apart from Saga, what other, I guess, World Tour pros have you raced with?
I think I've raced with a lot of the big dogs now. I've raced with Remco a couple of times. I don't think I've raced Van der Poel or Wout. Let me think. But loads of other guys. Biniam Gamay. I remember I saw him once. That was pretty cool.
That's cool.
I really want to find a race when I'm doing with Chris Froome. Because when I was like the first year I was cycling, he did some wind tunnel testing in Southampton or something like that. And we did a ride with him, and I got a selfie with him when I was like 17 and all this Amazon kit and looking like a proper noob. And I really want to get like a 8 years later selfie,
on the matching factors.
Yeah, exactly. The matching factors, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What you do, you ride up to him, you flick his factor and go whisper in his ear, factor. Like
Oh, that would be funny. You'd love that.
From I guess from the last year, as you said, you had your first UCI kind of schedule. What was your favorite race? I would imagine it's probably Bulgaria because you won. But was there any other sort of standouts where you were just like, this is cycling. I love what I do.
Let me just try and get some memories going through. I think obviously it's hard to look past Bulgaria because that was like the point where our team went from working together we weren't doing it that well, but at that point we really locked it in. We had a lead out train. We were like trying to get riders in the points jersey and like all this kind of thing. So we were really like part of the race, which was like amazing. I guess the next this is cycling moment was Elfsteden race, Friesland in the Netherlands. This was the last European race I did of the year. And that was a really like high quality field. It had Jasper Philipsen and Olav Koy, and it was like a proper crosswinds, like classic race. Nice. And I was just in the echelons, like pulling through. And there's a video of me like on the wheel of Sam Welsford, and the commentators like, give me a good shout out. I think it was Brian Smith. He always gives me a good little shout when he sees me on there. So that was pretty cool. Like so hard. Like that probably the hardest race I did all year actually, but a really cool experience.
Yeah, looking at the start list, it is stacked.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
What was it like? What was it like winning the national championships at Grenada, Red? It must be an incredible thing to wear your country jersey.
Yeah, it's really so. This is the second year that I've won it, and the second year that I've been representing them as well, or maybe the third year that I've been representing them. But no, it's really cool. I think there's the element of pride, which is just like, yeah, it's hard to describe. It's like this is my country. I get to wear the flag at every race, especially because like a lot of people, probably most people, don't know where or what Grenada is. They might know it's a city in Spain, but they don't know it's this little island in the Caribbean. And they probably start calling it Grenada as well, which which does trigger me just a little bit. But yeah, no, it's really cool, and it's cool to be able to inspire the other riders to some degree as well, because the scene there, it's not huge. You know, the whole population of the country is like, I think maybe 100 or 1 or 200,000. So it's really not big, and the cycling scene, as you'd imagine, is also not big. But seeing more guys cycling year on year is pretty cool. And I did like a kit drop donation thing. So I took donations in the UK. We got a barrel full of kit, and we sent it over there. And it's like really nice. I'll see like Instagram stories and stuff of guys riding in kit I sent. So no, it's just really cool.
It's amazing. And didn't you also do Pan American races as well, right? The Caribbean circuits too.
Yeah, so there's the Pan American Championships, which is like the Continental Championships, which is like the real big dog. You know, you get Colombia all the way up to USA and Canada turn up. That one was, there's a sad story about when I was under 23, I did the Pan Am Champs. It was like a bob on sprint. I was on the Colombian lead out train. I was like the biggest guy there, so you'd think a fairly good chance. And then with like 400 meters to go, some guy crashed into the Colombian sprinter and took us both out. And then the Colombian lead out guy won the race, so it was so frustrating. And then but then there's Caribbean Champs as well, which is just, as you'd imagine, the Caribbean islands, so slightly lower level. And that's another one I've been so close to winning now. Like, I've been on the podium 3 times. But hopefully this year I can close it out for good.
Did you enjoy doing the Commonwealth Games at all as well?
That was incredible. That was like proper dreamy experience. Yeah. No, the Commonwealth, that was just like, yeah, proper dreamy experience. Like you're in this like the games village, and it's just athletes there. They've got all these like there's shops, right? So the concept of a shop, you go in, you take your things, you pay for them. Not in the Commonwealth Games. You go in, you take your things, you simply leave. They've just got these shops where the athletes can just take whatever they want. The buffets, unlimited buffets. Although, in retrospect, this time around, if it happened again, I'd have to be a bit more disciplined, because I think I put on like 2 kilos at the Commonwealth Games just from the unlimited food. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, because I remember you did like an attack in the Commonwealth Games, right?
Yeah, that was my my like 5 minutes of fame. I managed to get a gap, did an attack. That was pretty like really cool. And that was like, again, like dream stuff, like riding in the Commonwealth Games with the camera bikes there and like people ringing bells and cheering your name. It's like, what is happening here?
Yeah, that sounds good. I also noticed they've done a bit of cyclocross. Is that something that you think you would ever do again? Oh,
you know what? I don't care what the results say. I love cyclocross. I've only done it maybe 3, 4, 5 times, and I'm always like near the back. But it's so fun. I don't think my current coach would sort of give me the green light to do it in winter this time around, just because, if it's in rest period, it's rest period, and if it's racing, I'm racing on the road. But I really enjoy it. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's just silly fun. Well, obviously not for the top guys, but for when you're just like running around, scrambling at the back, it's just, real good crack.
You need to turn up at the is it Summer Cross at Herne Hill one night in the summer.
Yeah.
That's when it's just have some fun.
Yeah.
So talking about fun, sort of, I guess when you were first on mine and Cam's radar, it was because of your funny YouTube videos that you used to do, and you also have like a good sort of Instagram kind of like
Incredible.
comedy as well. Is that something that you've always been sort of like, I guess, making people laugh?
Yeah, especially the YouTube thing. I was doing YouTube before cycling when I was just gaming, and I would just like if I got like something cool happened, I'd make a video on it. And I did some like back in the real early days. I did like some like proper old school like commentary videos where looking back they're pretty crap, but it's always
I loved
a
it.
bit of a
It was
laugh.
the GP one.
Yeah,
Every time,
yeah,
so we moved to Surrey, as many people now know. Every time I go down Guildford High Street, on the corner where it flies round on the cobblestone bit, every time I'm there, I think about there's like a fixed position of when you fly past and you say something like, "Oh yeah, I was working my cobbles today as well. I nearly slipped off here twice." And then you just continue commentating. So every time I cross that street, I think about that exact moment in that video from 10 years ago.
yeah. You know what? I remember that exact moment. I do. Little back wheel skid out, you're like, "Ooh," and then you just have to just carry on
Back
going.
to racing.
Yeah. No,
So how do
yeah,
you?
no, the YouTube, I've been doing it for ages. Just enjoy it really. It's one of those things I think it's like, I guess partly I like making things that are funny, and then the other half is I like documenting it for my own sake. So I've got things to look back on. I think it's sort of,
Yeah.
I guess it's easy to lose sight of how far you've come, but when you look back, you're like, oh damn, it's been a long old way.
Do you have a creative process at all, or is it just whatever you feel like on the day?
Yeah, whatever I feel like. It changes a lot
Yeah.
actually, like as the years go. Like I remember it used to be so like back in the early days when I was still in college, we do like a midweek crit on a Wednesday evening. My dad would be filming, get home, like plug the camera or the phone into the computer, get all the files uploaded, just start editing. Um and I'd literally be editing at like 2 a.m. on a school night or something, and then try and get it up to set upload for the next day. But no, the creative bit is always like I make the video, and then like, oh, there's a good funny meme that would work there. And then I'll like put that in. But then that's the problem with that is you go on a slippery slope. And, oh no, but there's a really funny bit I could put in there, and then you end up spending hours just searching for memes on YouTube or TikTok or whatever.
uh, do you have a favorite meme?
Oh no, I couldn't pick a favorite meme. That's like choosing my babies.
So maybe going back to the start, or about the racing and training and things like that. For people looking to get into racing, or for people trying to build their own plan, maybe don't have a coach or things like that, how would what do you think's a really good place to start? Would it be joining clubs and club runs? Maybe some advice you'd give people about volume or training plans, or really how to get to the sport in a proper way.
Yeah. So I think, well, I remember when I started, I did a classic like search for a training plan, find some random weight weenies forum or something, and just like
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
we'll give that a try. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think if you're not in a club already,
Hmm.
definitely join a club. I know people, or I've met people who've like they've been like, yeah, I do this cycling. I just have a good hack out on my own for however long, and like that's all cycling is to them. And like if you're enjoying it, great. But I think it can be so much more than that. And like I think that's the first thing, you share experience, you share knowledge, um, and like oftentimes, yeah, just chatting about advice and stuff. It can really help. I think it's really difficult to summarize training, like how I would go about it if I was starting off training myself. But I think just try new things is probably the best approach. Like you can find there is like let's say there's a million ways to what's the saying? There's a million ways to
Skin a cat.
skin a fox, skin a cat. That's the one. Um, and it's the same for cycling and training. Like try a session. There's if you search for example zone 4 session, you'll find some ideas. Give it a try. If you fail, you still probably made some gains. And I think just consistency is the main thing. You set yourself a plan. You ride say every other day to start with if you're starting out, and just slowly build from there. It really is like I think an iterative process, which I think can be said for all aspects of it. Really, that's how I approached my nutrition as well.
Yeah.
like bit of research, learning, and I'm sure there's probably faster ways than I did it, but
Yeah.
I think, yeah, just trying things out and not being afraid to try new things, ride with new people. Ride, you know what? Number one tip, which I'd forgotten: ride with people faster than you. That will get you
Oh
there
yeah.
real quick. I remember I used to do the chain gang. There was a Saturday one and a Tuesday one, and I just get just beat up every single week. But after a while, slowly but surely, you're like, oh, actually, I can ride with these guys, and before you know it, you're the one doing the beating up on the
Yeah.
new guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun than like being the strongest person.
Yeah. When you're the hammer, it's real fun.
It's very rare though.
Yeah.
Incredibly rare.
What does your sort of training look like? Do you train every day now, or do you bring in like actual rest days of like non-bike days where you might do something
So
else?
yeah, so nowadays I'll have a rest day either once a week, or sometimes in training camp it'll be like once every other week. But that's a full rest day, so there'll still be easy days. For example, in training camp at Calpe, I'd do I was doing 4 days hard, or 4 days with something, either endurance or efforts or both, and then one day where it'd be like 2 hours pretty chill, or 3 hours chill, or 90 minutes chill. And that's like now, that's this year, but even like last year, the year before, it was maybe 2 rest days a week, or maybe just a 90-minute or 1 hour easy spin. So it's just like slowly progressing. Yeah, slowly progressing. But yeah, now it's like I'll do like a I don't know what we do with my coach. It's fat max, which is like it's theoretically like the
Oh,
zone in which you burn the most amount of fat. It's
oh,
quite
the
I think it's
Milan San Miguel stuff.
quite
It's all over
controversial.
all over you,
Controversial. Yeah.
the Huberman. Yeah, the amount of Zone 2 chat that pops up on my YouTube algorithm is
That's
unreal.
unbelievable.
But yeah, no. Aside from that, then threshold efforts, zone 4 efforts, VO2 max efforts, just a mix of those, and obviously approaching race season now, they're getting more intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your race schedule? What races have you got this year?
So this year there's a lot that's still unconfirmed, but first block of racing will be in roads, which will be hopefully really good. I'm definitely in better condition than I was this time last year. I really, really want to win a stage. So there's a 2-day stage race, then a 1-day race, and then a 4-day stage race across 3 weeks or 3 weekends. So yeah, really looking forward to those. And then after that, there's a stage race in Turkey, I think. So that could be quite interesting. And that's like quite a low level. I don't want to say like low level like it's easy, but it's lower level than some of the other races that I've been doing this time last year. So again, hopefully some opportunities to get some good results. And then yeah, that's essentially all we've got confirmed at the moment. We should have some really good races, but I think at this level it's like oftentimes you don't get the real confirmation until a month or two before.
Are you defending your titles?
Oh, national champs 100%. I really love not just defending my titles, but just going back. I don't get much of an opportunity to go back to Grenada, partly because the roads they're hard to train on. If you're doing like a 4-hour ride, the options are limited. So like when I go and I have a 4-hour ride, it's literally just like one highway. I say highway, it's like a single carriage road, but that's like the smooth tarmac. It's from the airport to like towards the city, and I just go back and forth like 18, 19, 20 laps of that, just baking myself in the heat.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
how
sorry, go on.
how before like I guess the races, how early do you go to I guess get acclimatized to like I guess the climate and I just and getting on like I guess the same time zone and stuff like that?
Yeah, so normally for a race in Europe, or like a stage race in Europe, we try and go a couple of days before. More would be better, just so there's more time between the travel and the race to recover. Because like a whole travel day of if it's driving to France or flying somewhere, it really does like add up the fatigue. If it's like like Grenada with the time zone, ideally I'd have like 3-4 days before, but sometimes the the flight patterns or the budget doesn't allow for that. So, for example, last year for Caribbean Champs, I think I flew in 2 days before, then did the time trial, then did the road race, then the next day flew home, then was home for 1 or 2 nights, then flew to Hong Kong. So I was like going from this side of the world to the other side of the world in like 2 days. And the jet lag was, as you can imagine, like pretty messed up. Yeah.
How often do you? I guess it depends on your race schedule, but I guess if we take like last year, how many days do you think you were like on the road and traveling and not actually at home, even with like I guess training camps and stuff like that?
Oh, so like race days included?
Yeah. Like, do you think it's like
I
a
would
half and
say
half?
not quite half and half, and it
Yeah.
literally can't be half and half because of the 90-180 rule in the EU. So out
Oh.
of every previous like rolling 180 days, I can only be there 90 anyway. So it's never going to be more than half. And I've got like my spreadsheets counting it down, and I think I literally went 1 over last year, but luckily no one twigged. But yeah, roughly maybe like a quarter to a third of the days I end up away, which it does. I think the stressful thing is just like packing to go each time. Like you go, you come back. If you're only home, even if it's for a week or more, maybe a week or 2 weeks, it's still just like the stress of unpacking and then packing and remembering everything. Because if you forget one thing, that could be like catastrophic. And I've got lists and stuff, but there's still that permanent fear of forgetting something essential or having a problem that you didn't bring the thing to fix. And then there's the weight limits for the bike box. It's yeah.
What's your pro travel tips then? Well, as you seem like a man who knows, he's got the list down. What are the important bits?
Let me think. There's a lot of things. Well, so I'm really lucky. I've got this bike box, which I'm sure Harkin Thurman won't mind too much. It was from them, and it just ended up staying with me after I left the team. And it can take 2 bikes, so that saves me a lot. I can bring 2 bikes for the price of one, which is really good. I think tips. Essentially, here's a good one. So if the weight limit's 32, you can have 32.9. That's the top tip, and they can't, as long as it's not an e-check-in. If it's an e-check-in, you could be screwed because it's just the computer, and the computer says no. So yeah.
Has that happened?
It has happened a couple of times, and I had to. Well, one time I went. This is before I was very experienced. I went like 38 kilos, and I was sort of hoping to blag it because sometimes they just don't check. This time they did check, so I had like a bag in a bag that I could pull out and then check in and buy the bag. But normally it's all right. Yeah.
How do you find it when you're racing overseas with different nations? I know you said when you were going to France, it was quite aggressive racing, and you kind of see footage of Belgian Kermesse races where everybody's got a 400-watt FTP and everyone's aero. How would you find it going to these races and coming from a British domestic scene to being on a more European scene or kind of an American scene?
Well, one thing which I was once again reminded of on the weekend that just went racing in the UK, the peloton is generally much more respectful in Europe, and the higher the level the race, I've noticed at least, they tend to be even more respectful. So no one's chopping wheels or pushing you in the gutter. Not that you get pushed much, but it's just generally more etiquette in the European race. In the UK, it really is like a case of flick or be flicked. It's every man for themselves. Yeah. But no, and then so Dutch racing is probably, I don't know if it's more by virtue of the courses as it is the riders, but that's like chaos. I think because it's narrow lanes, it's like just an absolute fight for position the whole time. So you still see a lot of riders doing like potentially sketchy things, moving up the gutter, or not like moving off the road. And it's all these dodgy things where the rule says you're not meant to move off on the pavement, for example, but everyone sort of does it and hopes you don't get caught and that kind of thing. But then I could say that that's for a UCI 0.2 level, but you go to a UCI 0.1 level, like that Friesland race I talked about that had Jasper Philipsen. that was like super respectful. It was chaotic, but there was not really any sketchiness, and I don't think I witnessed a crash. Compared to the point 2 races, there's just a crash every 10 seconds. You hear that familiar sound of like crunching carbon.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you're in all these different European countries, all like the road surfaces are different, or are they all sort of
That's
similar?
such a niche, good question. I love it.
For the most part, they're not too bad because the organisers pick good ones. There's often like a bad patch. Like sometimes,
Yeah.
oh, what's this we've stumbled across? Like it's just some horrific road. But for the most part, it's good. So, for example, Bulgaria. I don't know what the general roads are like across the country, but I would assume quite bad because in the race they just pick almost exclusively main roads. So obviously that's like, yeah, that's the best roads. So keep on there, and I much prefer that. I think punctures are bad enough as it is a problem in races.
And,
So yeah.
where my wife is from in the south of France, in Gap, obviously Tour de France goes through pretty much every year, and
Oh right.
the roads are so smooth because they really reinvest in all the infrastructure, and Tour comes through, and you go up the coals, and I'm potentially the only person on planet Earth that replaced a Vittoria Corsa tyre because it perished from age rather than by puncture.
No
It got so
way.
old. Yeah. It got maybe we'll put it on screen. It got so old that the sides started wearing away and the tyre was completely bald. And I was like, oh, I guess I'll replace them because I've actually worn them out. They hadn't gone. They hadn't punctured. I just worn them through with cotton.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I nearly did that in Calpe. I actually got to the point where the wear indicators were gone and the tire was still functioning. I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit while I'm ahead here. I'm going to replace the tire.
You had a good thing going on. I think, yeah, I'm gonna and this section on a lighter question. What video games were you playing back in the day? Do you still play them now?
Oh, I wish I played more, which is funny to say. So back in the day, I was like pretty much just playing Call of Duty, and then later on CS:GO, and I guess that ended up being my competitive outlet, where I'd had my group of friends, we play like competitive games, and that was it. And then the switch from cycling slowly. I mean, to be fair, I still played a lot for the first few years of cycling, and now I play less so, but more just like fun, more social games, I guess. I guess I don't need that competitive aspect in my life filled anymore. I've got enough. So, just like funny games, that kind of thing.
Nice. I
Well,
think with that, we'll end section 2.
welcome back, everybody. Section 3 Q&A. Mixing up the order of service. Some of you know this is a white bib safe zone. So maybe Red, what's your opinion on white bib shorts? How do you feel about white bib shorts? Do you like them?
Well,
Would you wear them?
perhaps controversially, I've always idolized the white bib shorts. Against many of my friends back in the day, back when I started cycling, I always said, "Yeah, man, if I'm ever a national champion, I think I'd get the white bib shorts." Last year, I was fortunate enough to be a national champion, but
Dream came true.
I wasn't brave. Well, no, I wasn't brave enough to go for the white bib shorts last year. But this year, I thought enough's enough, and I put my foot down. The team were maybe not too happy, but they let me do it, and we've got the white bib shorts for 2024. Full white skin suit, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Has there been any you've been you're potentially going to be rubbing shoulder to shoulder with some pretty giants of the sport, right?
Yeah.
Have you had any feedback within the peloton already about the white bib shorts?
I haven't yet because I didn't have them last year. I only had them this year so far, which has just been one race in the UK. I sent a message to Adam Blythe. I asked him if he approves. I don't know him, but I just messaged him anyway.
I think we've got Russ Downing coming on the podcast, and we've also got a photo of Russ Downing in a Team Sky white skin suit. So send Russ Downing a DM; he'll definitely get back to you.
Yeah. But no, it's definitely like at least plus 50 watts on the FTP. When I was on the race on the weekend, I was attacking with it, and I was like, I'm literally Matthew Van der Poel. Like, I'm literally him. No one can tell me
Diamonds on their legs.
otherwise. Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's just cool. Like, no one has white shorts. So I'll take my opportunity.
Nice. We just need to let that rest, It's happened. The first yes.
Let the air cool down. I can feel like the future listeners like raging already.
Let everyone's heart rate go down. So, Red, when you're cycling, do you have any favourite coffee spots?
You know what? Traditionally, I do not cafe stop. I don't like. Well, I just don't like the cafe legs, to be honest. And the cafe stop usually isn't worth it. But I have one exception. There's a place in Leap, which is in the south of New Forest, so just on the coast, and there's this cafe that does, what are they called? Millionaire's shortbreads, and they are unbelievable. I think they're like properly homemade. They're not like bought in or anything. And I would do a cafe stop for one of those millionaire shortbreads. They're pretty special.
Is it
Otherwise,
like a good?
no.
Is it a generous slice? How big? How big is a slice?
I reckon triangle like maybe this big. So it's not small, it's not huge, but you know what? It's big enough where you're not wanting more. You finished it and you're like, that was bang on the money. Yeah, content, perfectly content. But yeah, no. Other than that, I don't drink tea or coffee. So the only option's cake and treats.
What are you drinking? Like a fizzy, sugary drink, or are you?
No, I'm not a massive fan of fizzy drinks either, actually. I mean, maybe a Coke at the end of a stage in a race. A cold Coke can hit, like, unbelievably after a race. But my normal go-to would be, like, some cold juice, like an orange juice, a mango juice, an apple juice, or a crisp apple juice on a hot day. That hits the spot, doesn't
it? That is good. I was thinking when you're talking about the triangle of shortbread, there's a documentary called, like, I think it's like Miro Dreams of Sushi or something, where the guy is like some sushi like grandfather, like is like a Michelin star sushi restaurant, and basically he gives you the food by, he asks you your weight, and then he'll give you the sushi based on like how heavy you are. So
that's
I think
funny.
this person's like, just been like, this is the right amount for this, like you.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So we're talking about a nice sweet treat, but what are your dislikes in cycling? It could be anything. Anything.
I could bet you there's so many. Off the bat, ankle socks, obviously. As a 2-year
the heritage of Lance.
As a 2-year ankle sock addict, now reformed.
No,
I can look
you were
back
doing
and get
so well.
How high are the socks now? I feel like some of the socks have got to knee level when
they're as high as
they go.
Oh no, they're not. They're never UCI compliant. You should have seen. Ooh. You should have seen my overshoes on the weekend. They were at least 2/3 of the way up towards my knee. Yeah, just stretch them up as high as they go. Oh, actually, I really grinds my gears. Is people talking, and again, I was a previous committer of this crime, but people talking bollocks about the power numbers. And like, I kind of don't mind, but it's just like, I know you're chatting shit. People talk about, oh yeah, I did like this amount for crucial word, like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And the actual case would have been, it was like 12 minutes, but they rounded it up, and then they rounded up the power meter number, and then like, but I did it. I was that guy. I would say I'd have like a power spike on my, well, yeah, I did 1800 watts, but it just wasn't true. Yeah.
Just round it to the third decimal will be fine. Don't worry about
it. Yeah.
So we know you've done quite a lot of European racing, but we've also known you've done some high mountain racing and whatnot. What are you preferring to do? Are you more on the watching as well as racing, I guess? Cobblestones or mountains?
Watching, I love watching cobbles. I think that's really exciting. Racing, I really dislike the cobbles. Like, I do not like them at all. I mean, I'm getting better at them, so part of it could be an experience thing. But it's like the stress of like, it's so much harder to just get to the cobbles in a good position, and it's all like your position into the cobbles to a very high extent predetermines how well like your position out of it. It's like as long as you do a pretty good effort, you're not really going to slide back too far. At least in the races I've done. So I have got better, but I do enjoy mountains because as a sprinter, it's really, really satisfying if you are able to make it over the climb and the other sprinters aren't. And it's like, oh, okay, now we're in, like, that puts you in a really good position because there's few sprinters left. And I still regret there's this one climb in the Tour of Bulgaria that I couldn't quite, I got dropped like 5 minutes from the top or like 3 minutes from the top. And if I had stayed up there, I could have won the GC. But it's one of those ones where we'll come back next year and we'll be stronger and better. But no, I do enjoy climbing. I think I have to pick mountains for racing.
Nice, amazing. What we usually ask people who are like London natives, what's more pro, Richmond or Regents? Have you ever been to Richmond Park or Regent's Park?
I think I've been to one of them actually. Once. I can't remember which one. I could get... No, it was Regent's Park. I know, it was Regent's Park. I did a couple laps there, but haven't really trained there much. There's a similar thing in Liverpool where my girlfriend lives. There's a Sefton Park, which we can call like the knockoff Regent's Park, and it is just like a 3K loop.
Shout out to my spouses.
Yeah, but whenever I'm up there, I don't want to spend an hour riding through traffic to get out of the city. So if I've got a 3 or 4 hour ride, I just switch my brain off and just go to Sefton Park for 3 hours.
What is there like traffic lights in there? Are cars in there, or is it?
There are cars.
Quiet?
So there's no lights, but there's a pelican crossing, which would be fine, but the cars always stack up coming into the crossing. So it's like, if it is all right on weekdays, but on the weekend it's carnage. It's just a bit frustrating, but it's better than riding an hour through the city.
Yeah. Is there like a local loop that you enjoy doing?
At home, there's... You know what? At home, people call me really cracked or really tapped for doing this. I literally do one route for basically every ride. If it's 2 hours, it's an out and back. If it's 3 hours, it's out with a loop and then back. If it's 4 hours, it's out with a loop and then a bit more of the same loop and then back. And if it's 5 hours, it's out 2 loops and then back. But I just enjoy just being able to not have to... I know it's like the best route for traffic, the best route for not having to stop. There's no potholes. The roads are pretty clean. So it's like, yeah, I can just get the training done.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Well, look, I think that's it for this week's episode. Red, thank you so much for being on our podcast. Really looking forward to seeing a massive flash of white in the peloton for the year, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Red Waters.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Bye.
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 Cam, do you want to ask that question again and get Red to talk about his social media accounts? Where to find him?
Yeah. I've got that written down as well.
No worries.
Sorry about that. I've got that written down. Okay, you ready? My glasses on. I'll do it again. Well, it's the end of the podcast now, so thanks, Red Waters, for being with us this week. Where can people find you? Where's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. It's been great. The best place to find me is on Instagram. It's _Redster. YouTube is the Redster. I don't post too much there, so Instagram is really my main source of content these days. But yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
Amazing, and just buzzing to have another white short devotee in the peloton. Red, thank you very much, mate.
Cheers. Bye.
Yep. Thanks, Red, and good luck for this season.